were speaking about children
That's
who would
right.
have committed suicide at such a tender age. And we have on the line Krista Ali, psychologist, a Child and Family Services Unit at the Children's Authority. And good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Krista, you know, we were talking about, Carrie was saying that he lost a friend at such a young age. He was a teenager at the time. How does depression present itself in children, and what are some of the signs that parents can look out for that would, you know, they should be thinking, okay, let me pay closer attention to my child?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, today we are talking about suicide prevention. And, we know that depression, often leads to persons having suicidal ideation, which is thoughts about suicide. And, sometimes that can lead them to actually attempting or completing suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So we find that with suicide, there's often a pre-existing mental health condition, and like you rightly said, depression is a major one of those, right? So in children, it presents in that the child might be very withdrawn. Their mood is very low. They no longer enjoy the things that they used to. So all of these TV shows, the games, little things like that they would have enjoyed, they no longer seem to have any interest in doing those things. You'll see a drop in their school performance. They don't want to talk to their friends. But what I say to parents all the time is that you are the expert on your child, so you will know when there's a change.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your child was bubbly and outgoing, and then suddenly they're more withdrawn, um, then that's definitely a red flag that something might be going on with that child.
Yeah, and how should parents approach this? What's the first line of defense?
What's the first line of defense?
Yes, how should what should parents do if they notice these symptoms in their children?
Right. So now depression, just like suicide, is often quite a taboo topic, especially when you're trying to talk to your own child about it,
Yeah.
right? You might not know what to say, you might not know what to do. So what I suggest is that if you do feel comfortable speaking to your child, what you have to do is sort of face it head on. With suicide and doing a suicide risk assessment, we sort of face it head on. Talk to your child, ask them what's going on, how are they feeling, try to get into why they might be feeling differently. But if
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel comfortable doing that, but you wanna seek assistance to your child, then I would suggest reaching out to a counselor, reaching out to a psychologist. If you don't feel comfortable speaking to your child, and then taking it from there.
Yes, and is this something that your agency can assist with?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
So
tell us.
yeah,
Yeah.
I am one of the psychologists at the authority, and I deal with abused children all day, traumatized children who've experienced very traumatic things in their young life, and I would say about 75% of them at some point do present with suicidal ideation or thoughts of death.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it might just be a passive death wish, as we call it,
Right.
where they don't actually have a suicide plan. They don't know how or when they might actually do it. But if they live or they die, they don't really care. So
Mm.
that's what we call a passive death wish.
And
Some of them do present with very active suicidal ideation without a plan. And then some of them who we consider to be very high risk, they would have suicidal ideation, recurrent thoughts of death with a suicide plan.
it's very interesting the terminology that you're talking about there. You're speaking about suicide ideation
Yeah,
and a suicide plan. Exactly
yeah.
what is that? What does that mean?
The suicidal ideation is the thoughts of suicide, having thoughts about taking your own life. That's what we call it. And when doing a suicide risk assessment, which is basically to see where on the continuum of mild to severe that child falls, this is what you're going to be looking out for. You're going to be looking out for, do they have ongoing suicidal ideation, and
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and that's what it is. And then a suicide plan would be an active plan that they would have if they were to commit suicide.
Mm.
So some of them might say, I might jump off the second floor of the house, right? And some of them might have a very detailed plan where they say that they will take pills, or they might overdose on pills, or they might drink something poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when a child presents with suicidal ideation, as well as has a suicide plan, we consider that to be very high risk.
And what does intervention look like, particularly with regard to the Children's Authority? If parents are concerned, should they call the Children's Authority, or is there a step before that?
If you believe, now sometimes parents don't know what type of services are out there, right? So if they do want to better understand who they can reach out to for assistance, they can feel free to call our 24-hour hotline at 996, even if it's just to get some more information as to probably what they should do next.
Okay. Well, Krista, I want to thank you for joining us and sharing. We want to pack as much information as possible into the program this morning, so we have a full lineup of interviews for the entire program with regard to suicide. So thank you so much, Krista, for joining us this morning. Krista Ali, the psychologist with the Children's Authority unit. Thank you, Krista. All right, so we're going to take in a few messages, come right back here on the Now Morning Show. Back with us.